Imagine sitting in your backyard, reaching up to pick a ripe, juicy peach from a branch hanging over your fence, and thinking you've just enjoyed a free snack from nature. In reality, you may have just committed a crime. It's a startling reality that roughly 70% of Americans have committed a crime that could lead to imprisonment without ever realizing it. Most of us believe that if something is on our property, it belongs to us, but the law is rarely that simple. Whether it's a tree branch, a security camera, or even the way rainwater flows off your roof, your daily life is governed by a complex web of property rights and local ordinances that your neighbor might be breaking right now, or that you might be violating yourself. The first thing many people get wrong involves those overhanging tree branches. If your neighbor has a tree with branches reaching deep into your yard, you generally have the legal right to trim them back to the property line. However, there are two major legal traps here. First, you cannot step onto your neighbor's property to do the trimming without their explicit permission. Second, even if the branches are hanging over your grass, you are not legally entitled to the fruit. Picking that fruit is technically theft because the tree trunk is on your neighbor's side, making the entire tree, including its fruit, their property. In some jurisdictions, courts are even divided on whether you can keep the fruit if it falls naturally into your grass. In many areas, even the fallen fruit still belongs to the tree owner. If you damage the tree while trimming it, you could be held liable for damages, which some courts have calculated as up to 3 times the actual value of the tree. The second common misconception involves home security. In an age of porch pirates and vandalism, many people install security cameras, but you can't simply point them wherever you want. While there is no specific federal law guaranteeing privacy, the Supreme Court has found an implied right to privacy in the Constitution, and many states have passed statutes to protect it. If a neighbor's camera is clearly trained on your living room window or an open-air shower, it could be classified as an intentional and offensive invasion of privacy. In states like New York, it is actually illegal to videotape a neighbor in their backyard without consent if the intent is to harass, annoy, or threaten them. While a camera pointed at a front yard is usually legal because there is less expectation of privacy in public view, scaling a fence to install a camera or recording audio without consent can cross the line into criminal harassment or stalking. The third illegal move involves what's known as a spite fence. You might think you have the right to build whatever you want on your property line, but if you build a structure purely to annoy your neighbor, you're likely breaking the law. For example, under the Massachusetts spite fence law, any fence or structure that unnecessarily exceeds 6 feet in height and is maliciously erected to annoy an occupant of the adjoining property is illegal. These disputes often arise during legal battles or personal feuds, where one neighbor puts up a makeshift plywood barrier or a blue tarp just to be vengeful. If a court determines the fence was built with malicious intent, rather than for a legitimate reason like privacy or safety, they can order the fence to be decreased in height or taken down entirely. Fourth, many people don't realize that they can be held liable for the rain that falls on their own roof. While you aren't responsible for the natural flow of water across the land, you are responsible if you alter your property in a way that causes unreasonable damage to your neighbor. This is governed by different rules depending on where you live. In most states, the reasonableness rule applies. If you landscape your yard or install a new drainage system that doubles the amount of water flooding your neighbor's basement, you could be sued for the repair costs. Other states follow the civil law rule, which holds upper landowners strictly liable for any detrimental changes they make to runoff patterns. If you carelessly leave a sprinkler running too long or allow a pipe to freeze and burst, causing a soggy mess next door, you could be forced to pay for motel stays, medical expenses, and property repairs. Finally, running a quiet home business might seem like you're right, but it can easily become illegal based on zoning and HOA rules. Most residential zones are strictly limited to low-impact activities that don't alter the character of the neighborhood. If your home-based music lessons, bakery, or personal training studio starts attracting significant client traffic, creating noise, or requiring commercial signage, you may be in violation of local zoning ordinances. Homeowners associations, HOAs, often have even stricter private rules, known as CC and Rs, that can ban home businesses entirely if they involve client visits or potential disturbances. Violating these rules can lead to fines, lawsuits from neighbors for creating a nuisance, or being forced to shut down your operations by the zoning board. Understanding these rules is the best way to prevent accidental legal headaches and maintain a peaceful neighborhood. Most of these laws exist to protect public health, safety, and property values, even if they seem like strange overreach at first glance. In summary, remember that property lines are not invisible shields. You cannot pick fruit from overhanging branches, point cameras into private windows, build maliciously tall fences, flood your neighbor's yard with redirected rainwater, or run a high-traffic business in a residential zone without potentially facing legal consequences. Thanks for watching the legal lecture. If you found this helpful, subscribe for a new video and leave any questions in the comments. See you next time.